Here we go. So here's our quick outline. Chloe, I can see you on the video. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? All right, great, thank you. Okay, here's what we have planned today. We're just going to talk through a little bit of the reasoning behind V3 and what launched this effort in the first place, because it took us about 2 years or more to build. How to log into V3, that's pretty important, and where you can go for some additional resources on how to use V3 after this call. We are going to be recording this and distributing this recording out post-event. And if you do have questions, drop them in the chat. So real quick, why do we build V3? There's really three, I think we can kind of distill it down into maybe three major motivations. One is due to our mission of bringing high quality, safe and effective training to as many people as possible, making it available to everyone everywhere. I think we've done a really good job of that even before V3, making it available to athletes and people who enjoy exercise, whether they have access to a professional or not. But we did realize that with our old system, we were running into some limitations, particularly when it came to large groups that we were working with, like schools. And so that kind of gets into some of the second main point, which that guided our decision to build V3 is customer feedback. We always tell our customers that we take your feedback very seriously, and we want to live that as well, and not just say it. So one of the pieces of feedback that we were getting from our customers was that V2, our old system, was very difficult when they had many teams that they were managing, many groups that they were managing. If they were kind of on the private sector side, they had multiple groups. It was tough to navigate all of those users. And there were also training programming restrictions that, we wanted to try and build solutions to those problems, but our old system made it difficult for us to build those quickly. And so that kind of gets us into the third really motivation behind building V3, is that it is a whole new technology. You can think of it as, we didn't tear down a house and build on the same foundation. We started building on a whole new lot with a whole new foundation, with the idea that once we retire our old system, we'll be able to start building new features and iterating and giving our customers more value more frequently as we go forward. So those are the three key motivations for V3. In terms of how to log in, it's really, really simple. The address is just going to be app3.voltathletics.com. And if you're already a Volt customer, you're going to be able to log in there, with the exception of a couple groups who have decided to postpone their launch. But for 99.9% of our customers, you're going to be able to just go enter this in and log in with your current credentials. Oh, one more thing here, how-to resources. So you can go to help.voltathletics.com and you can just search V3. So I'll actually do that right now. This is our help center. You can search V3 in our help articles. And the first thing that shows up is this article, and you can access the 6-minute V3 walkthrough video. You can take the Getting Started with V3 course, which is actually more long form, about 30 to 40 minutes. So it gets into some of the details a little bit more. And you can always, of course, open up a live chat with one of our support specialists. You can email support@voltathletics.com, but just so you know, you have this available to you as an additional resource. Okay, now I am going to ask you to just bear with me for a moment while I pull up my demo environment so that we can actually get into the tool. Okay, so when you log into V3, in this example, I'm logged in as a softball coach, right? So when we log in, we can see that this is obviously, if you've seen V2 or are familiar with the classic system of Volt, this is a little bit of a different view, right? You have some filters here on the left that allow you to direct where you want to go. So here, when you log in, I'm a softball coach, so I see my group, my softball group or my softball team. I've got 10 athletes on my team. I've got 2 coaches on my team. But I can also go to all groups, and I can see that there's actually a bunch of other groups here on my school platform. I've got a football team. I've got a rugby club team. I've got weightlifting classes. And so now you can see, as you start to build this out within your organization, you can customize it to actually look like your organization, instead of everything having to just be a team or just filtered into into single folders. Now, you can also see that we can filter here on the left for those different group types, such as a class or a club or a team as well. Now, when we click on My Group, click on Softball, that's going to bring us to our new dashboard. So now this is our group dashboard for the softball team. I'll zoom out a little bit so that you can see a little bit more in this view. And we'll start here at the top. So you're looking at this week of 9/25. On the top left here, you have a little bit of an accountability section right here on your dashboard. So you see how many users in your group have completed a workout, average workout duration, average set completed, and then you can see how that breaks down per day. And if you want to see all the athletes who completed a workout on Monday the 26th, you can do that here. On the right-hand side, we see our readiness scores. So when your athletes go in, just as a reminder, when they go in to complete a workout, they hit start workout on their app, we ask them to complete a readiness check-in, rating their soreness, stress, energy, mood, and sleep. And so here we see the average scores across your entire team, and we see when those scores are being received. So you have a chance to have a little bit of a closer pulse on your team just by what they're self-reporting in their Volt readiness check-ins. Now you can also, this is of course a team view, but you can type in Aileen here. These are all fictional athletes, but then you can also just see what her accountability data looks like and what her readiness looks like across the week as well. Okay. Now scrolling down, this might look a little bit more familiar, but with some small changes. In the past, we kind of had our workout days, right? We had like day 1, day 2, day 3. When it's reflected to you as a coach on your dashboard, now we're actually showing you a Sunday through Saturday view. So you can see when these workouts are being completed. You can still see the duration of those workouts. You can click into a completed workout, see that summary, which is very similar to what the athlete sees when they complete their workout, see the sets completed, tonnage lifted, readiness for reported on that day, duration, and all of that good stuff. Now you can also click on this details tab here, and you can go set by set. Again, this looks similar to what we had before, but also with some additional information. So you can see if sets were skipped. You can see the RPE that athletes are providing for each set, along with the amount of weight that they were using. And you would be able to see if they made any replacements as well. We're not seeing that in this demonstration, but you'd be able to see if they replaced dumbbell reverse lunge with bodyweight reverse lunge or barbell split squat or something like that. Okay. Now, one more thing we can do here from the dashboard that I want to point out. If we notice Freddie on Monday, Freddie's workout only took him 18 minutes. And maybe that's a surprise. Maybe we weren't expecting that. We can, actually, looks like Freddie's one of our coaches. Let me use an athlete example. Let's say Martin completed a workout on Tuesday that was 15 minutes. And I want to see what's going on there. I can just click these little dots here and send the message. And that's going to open up a Volt Chat direct message with Martin, so I can check in and see what was going on there. All right. You can also always access Volt Chat at the top of V3, and you can open that up and you can access your team channels if you have them. You can access direct messages as well with your athletes. If this is a feature you haven't seen before, because we did come out with it last year, and automatically what happens is in Volt Chat, a team channel or a group channel is created. So it's kind of a group chat channel. And then if you want to create direct messages with one athlete or maybe a handful of athletes, maybe you want to create a direct message with your captains or other coaches, you can create those direct message channels and you can send text, video to a certain limit. I think it's 20 megs, but enough to do technique videos and stuff like that. Images, files, links, GIFs, and it's a two-way communication. The nice thing about Volt Chat as well is that as long as your athletes give permission to Volt to send them push notifications, whenever you send them a chat, it will show up just like a text message if they allow Volt to send them push notifications. Okay. That's everything for now on the dashboard. As I mentioned early on, we're going to continue to iterate, and we'll communicate with all of you as we make improvements and add new things to our dashboard, new visibilities. But this is what we're looking at now. Okay, let me check my checklist here. We're going to talk a little bit about user types and permissions. So in V3, if I go to users here at the top, we can see that we have more filters on the left. I can see just the users that are in my group. I can see all users that are within my school in this example, or I can see all athlete users, all coach users, and all admin users. Now, admin is a new role that we haven't had in the past. In order to explain admin, it's actually easier to explain coaches first. So a coach is someone who can create and edit training within their group and can edit their group roster. So a softball coach can do all of that stuff on their softball team as long as they've been added to softball. But as a softball coach, again, I'm only on the softball team. I can still view the football team, but I can't edit anything that's going on there, right? That I don't have that permission because I'm not added to that group. For our admin users, there are no restrictions for what groups that you can edit or delete or add or anything like that, right? So an admin is probably going to be somebody who might be an administrator who's in charge of, adding and removing staff if there's staff turnover or anything like that. Might be a strength and conditioning coach who needs to set up training for all of the teams at the school, or a PE department head or something like that. So again, as a coach user, you can view anything, but you can only edit the groups that you're a part of. As an admin user, you can view and edit anything you want. One more thing about admins is that whenever you start using Volt and we create an account for you, we're going to appoint an admin at your school. We probably know who that is because we've been having conversations with you. Only admins can grant admin privileges to other people in the organization. So you can't just decide that you're going to be an admin if you're not one already. You'll need to contact your admin at your school and get set up. Or you can email support, and we'll probably need to check with your admin to make sure that we got thumbs up, but we can help you with that as well. All right, back to my checklist. Groups, we've already talked about groups. And now one of the things I want to talk with you about is self-registration. This is a new feature as well. So previously, if you were part of a group within Volt, you would need to add athletes manually. So you would add users in your old group and you'd invite them to the system, and then they would be part of your team and you'd set them up on a program, right? And so that's actually the case for that's the use case for most of our coaches, because they are managing their own rosters. But we also saw, and we received feedback from organizations that wanted that to be a little bit less manual for their coaches and stakeholders. Meaning, let's say you're at a full school and you want to manage the athletes, but maybe you have faculty at your school who want to get access to training. If you're a strength coach on this call, you've probably had faculty or alumni contact you and say, hey, I want a program. And you're probably already overworked and don't have time for that. So now what we have the ability to do is that you can purchase, let's say 10, 100, 200 just sign up code licenses. And then, you can distribute a QR code, print that out and put it on the wall in your weight room at your school or your organization, and just allow other people to scan that code and get started and create their own program. And then once they do that, they would land in your users tab. And if you decided to work with them more closely, you can just take over their program, right? So that's a new capability that we have. If that is something you're interested in setting up, again, if you're already a current customer, you're interested in setting that up for your school or your organization, you can contact support, or you can contact sales at voltathletics.com, and we'll be happy to help you out there. Okay. We already talked about our group dashboard. We talked about Volt Chat. Time check, we're at 9:51. So let's talk a little bit about program creation and the different types of programs that you now have available. So whenever you want to create a program, you go to that Programs tab. Again, you can sort and view and filter to locate the programs that you wish to edit if you're looking to edit an existing program. Before we do that, we're going to actually just go into creating a new program. So I'm going to select Create Program here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a program type. So I can choose a group program, which is a program that I'm creating that I intend to have multiple people training on. I can also create an individual program If I know that only one person is ever going to use this program, I can create an individual program that way as well. Most of the time, you're probably going to be using a group program unless you're in a personal training setting. Then it might be, for most of your clients, it might be an individual type of program. So I'm going to choose group program here, and I'm going to make sure that I assign this program that I'm creating to a group. So I'm going to go softball. I'm going to say that this program lives on the softball team, and I'm just going to call this, freshman softball program. Okay, pretty straightforward. We have our toggles here for Smart Sets. Smart Sets is, and just to make sure you guys can see this, is our AI that allows us to adjust workouts based on RPE, or ratings of effort. We want to leave that on in order to get the most value of out of Volt. Movement replacements allows athletes to replace movements in real time during their workout or before their workout if they run into any restrictions. Most of our coaches leave that on as well. And then we're going to start to build our program here by first selecting a program goal. So that could be general fitness, that could be sport performance, it could be tactical. What you have access to as a customer will change based on, or will depend on the package that you have purchased. But in this example, we're going to go with sport performance. Our training focus is going to be our sport, right? You can see all the different sports that we have going on here for this organization. Again, your choices will be dictated by the package that you have, the subscription you have. I'm going to find softball. And finally, I'm going to choose a program. We've got softball level 1, softball level 2, pitchers level 1, pitchers level 2. If you've been using Volt for a while, you're familiar with the differences between level 1 and level 2. Level 1 is for your novice athletes, and really those who don't have, anybody who doesn't have a strong, extensive experience background within strength and conditioning. Level 2 is more so geared towards athletes who can perform, who can safely perform compound lifts like heavy back squats or Olympic derivatives. So anything less than that is probably going to be on a level 1. So we're going to choose level 1 here, and we're going to set a training start date. Let's say we're starting this week. And then we're going to indicate whether or not we're training for a season. So again, in a PE scenario, you might not want to set up in season, out of season, right? You might just want to set things up to just continually be maybe a 3-day week throughout the entire year. Again, or if you're working with general population clients, they might not have a season they're preparing for. So we don't need to force you to enter in a season. But in this case, we are going to enter a season. So we're going to say our season starts, let's say, it rains for a long time here in Seattle, so really we don't start our games until sometimes early March. So let's say early March, and then season end will go into the beginning of June. All right, and then if I want to, I can do a secondary season as well. I'm going to skip that for now. Create program. Now this takes us to that programs tab. Again, existing customers, this looks pretty familiar, but also a little bit different, right? We've got a little bit of a facelift here, and I'm going to show you some of the other capabilities that you have in this interface. But now we're in our programs tab. We're looking at our freshman softball program. We're seeing the periodization here at the top. We can scroll if we want to. And if you do have any questions, if you're a customer, you don't know what these acronyms mean, that's a really good help article. And you can contact support if you have questions on that too, but you can go to our help section and just type in periodization, and you'll find a really good article there. Now we can scroll down. One thing we've added here is an estimated duration for our coaches, so you can get a better idea of how long each of these training sessions are going to take, right? That was actually a piece of feedback that we received from a lot of coaches, particularly in a PE setting, because that tended to be a little bit more time sensitive with the school day. So that is also going to be dynamic. And so I'll show you what happens when you make some structural changes here. But the same movement replacement functionality that you're familiar with, that's here as well. When you hit replace, we're going to recommend similar movements that target a similar adaptation or movement patterns. So for dumbbell bench press, you're going to see other horizontal pushing movements, right? Maybe you choose to do barbell bench press instead of dumbbell bench press. You can replace it this week or this block or the entire program. And when you make that change, you might see some of the loading percentages, reps, and rest time change as well, just based on whatever decision you made and what block of training that you're in. All right. One thing I want to point out now before I forget is a lot of our coaches are used to having training extras at the bottom here, right? Below your workouts in the programs tab. Those training extras now live in their own little folder, their own little tab here. And so you can access them all and search them all here. It's a little bit better search interface and ability to find what you're looking for. Right, when we go into our edit, our training editor, still have these controls where you can change the scheme across the entire week with just a click of the button. You see the duration change here, estimated duration of these workouts is dynamic, like I mentioned before. You can change the intensity within those blocks. You can copy training from previous weeks. You can add a training day. All of that stuff is carried over from V2. You can also change the scheme for an individual day. So if you want to go like a power, strength, hypertrophy type of format for this week, you have the ability to do that. Another thing that you can do here is you can hover over any of these movements and you can click this little pencil icon, and now you can actually change sets and reps and loading percentages for every single set within your workout, right? So we're looking here, we're going 67.5 all the way up to 72.5. If I decided I wanted to adjust this to 75 instead and go with 75 by 6, I can do that. I can add sets. I can add up to 10 sets if I want to. If I do that and I'm like, I just want to go back to whatever Volt had, I can revert to original. I can remove sets. So you can start to see that now you have even more control than you had before. This was another piece of feedback that we heard a lot from our coaches. They liked that they could use some of the training editor shortcuts, but they still wanted to have fine control over loading percentages, reps, and rest time. So now you have that. Would love to get feedback from you on that once you get a chance to use it and play around with it. As a reminder, everything here is in a drafting mode, so nothing really changes for your athletes until you actually apply changes. You can still move things around. You can still group things together or ungroup them or add movements to the beginning or end of your workouts. All of that functionality is still within V3. Okay, let me save and close. Oh, that's right. Because I didn't hit apply changes, I hit save and close, and it just lets me know that I have a draft that's currently pending. Okay, next, I think we want to go into analytics. This is something I'm really excited to show you guys. And actually, we have some updates coming down the line here, not too soon, or not too far away, in our analytics section as well. So right now, when we click on analytics, we're seeing the total organization view. So we're looking at barbell back squat, current average estimated 1 rep max across the entire organization over the last 90 days. And we can edit these time periods as well, right? But if I'm softball coach, I don't really care about the whole school, maybe. I probably only care about my group. So I'm going to go to groups and I'm going to go to softball. And then I'm going to see how that trends over time. Also, maybe I don't care about barbell back squat. I'm going to find any movement that any of my athletes have ever done in their Volt training, and I'm going to be able to access their estimated 1 rep maxes here. So if it's a dumbbell RDL, if it's a bicep curl, whatever it might be, every single movement in Volt has its own estimated 1 rep max for every single one of your athletes. And that is going to be dynamic as well based on the amount of weight that they're lifting, number of reps, and the rating of difficulty that they're giving us. So you don't have to do anything to set this up. This is automatically going to populate for you. You don't have to enter maxes. You don't have to give up a training day just to do max testing. All of this is going to be captured by Volt, reflected for you here, and is going to automatically adjust and update over time. You can also scroll down and you can click on an individual person here and kind of see what their history is, how often their estimated 1 rep max has been updating over time. And so it's most likely that you'll be seeing these small incremental changes more frequently, rather than if you're used to doing like a pre-season or maybe you're used to max testing 3 times a year, right? If you're doing that, then you're only getting data 3 times a year and you're only getting the big spikes or dips. Here you'll be able to see more of the incremental changes and how that gets reflected over time. I think that covers everything here in analytics so far. Let me see here, groups, programs, users. One clarification point, because this might be a question, and then I'll dive into the chat to see what kind of questions we have. Nothing really changes. Like, your athletes aren't going to know that anything's really changing, probably, right? Like, on their end, they're still using the training app. They're still accessing their training there. Nothing's really changed for them on their end at this point. One thing that has changed for you when it comes to the training app, as a coach, still that training app is just for training. You're not going to be able to do any coaching actions in that Volt training app. You can access your Volt chat in the training app, but that's it. But now, if you want to train, you don't have to create an athlete account for yourself. You can just assign yourself as a coach. You can assign yourself to one of your programs, right? Like, I can go to freshman softball program. I can go to that program roster, and I can add, what was my name? Cami. I can add myself, assign myself to this program. All right, it's going to take me off of the pitchers program. But now I would be able to log into the app with my coach credentials, and I could train on the freshman softball program. Quick pause here. I'm going to take a look at the chat and see what kind of questions we might have. I know my team's been active in there answering, so let me see. I'm just going to scroll to the top. The one question that came up, if you weren't looking at the chat, is with the chat feature, will that be turned off when compliance mode is turned on for coaches? That is the case. That will be turned off for coaches when compliance mode is turned on. One thing to note is that compliance mode hasn't been carried over from V2 to V3 yet, but that's on the roadmap to get that in there shortly. Head coach defaulted as an admin. And so if you don't have admin privileges and you need it, contact your account manager. And if you don't have an account manager, contact support, and we'll support@voltathletics.com, and we'll make sure that we get you that permission set if you need it. V3 mobile app, not quite yet. It's something we're working on. We hope to be able to get you guys a coach app in the system, in the app store here in the future. But right now, there's just the training app for your athletes to use. You can log into V3 from a web browser on your phone, though. Have there been newer exercises added to the library? Actually, yes. We actually had a focus this past summer on uploading expanding our mobility movement library. So if you go into the movement library and you search in the mobility section, you'll see that there's a ton. I know we recorded at least 300 or more of those movements. It takes us some time to build the data behind it, but yeah, have definitely expanded our movement library. And then, as always, if you have movement requests, please send those over to support or to your account manager or your strength coach consultant. We're keeping a log, we're keeping a queue of all of those requests. We usually do a new movement shoot once or twice a year, because it's pretty high effort for us to do that, and we want to make sure you do a really, really high quality job. But it also might be the case that you're searching for something and maybe like just not using the right search term, so we can also help you out with that when that comes up. Okay, I think that answers all of our questions in the chat. As mentioned before, you can visit the help article and access the walkthrough video, getting started with V3 course. You can contact us in any of the ways that I've mentioned before. You can also contact us on social if that's easier for you. We love your feedback, especially as you get into this. We're going to be launching new features here as we move forward, so please stay tuned with us. Thank you for sharing your time with us today and for being part of the Volt family. It's really a privilege for us to be able to serve you and have you in the Volt family, helping us achieve the mission of getting better training out to more people. So thank you for that. And we'll see you guys around. We will have future office hours and we'll keep you guys updated on that. But thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.